Oh, what I was talking about at the end of the other one, as you can see, custom change. But the end of the other one was kind of the beginning. Remember, I told you my female character, my female lead in Autumn, she is she was raised on this big plantation, and her lover is the plantation owner's son. Well, actually, it's a prequel, I guess you would call it to that. It's the story of when the father, the the father on the plantation, the actual master on the plantation, brings home his his slave, who's going to be his mistress, who ends up giving him like 10 kids and that kind of thing. And it's a very good scene that I really really like. Is he brings her home and it's raining. It's like just like torrential raining. It's in Georgia, so it's not, well, it's cold to them. And he gives her his slicker and he gives her his hat, and uh she's crying because she don't want to go with this guy. And they get to up to his bedroom, and of course, well, now I do have a mammy and I do have a cook, those kind of people. You have to have those kind of people when you're doing historical romance, yes, but not as the only black woman in the story, in the book. Um, and like the mammy comes in and goes, "Oh, who's this? Where, oh, my goodness, where'd you get her?" And you know, gets the wet clothes off her. He changes his clothes, and it's a really scene I really like. He's just exhausted, so it's not going to be any sex this night. He's just exhausted, and he he goes to get into bed, and he's like, "Look, I'm not gonna touch you. Just get in bed because it's cold and you were wet, and all this stuff like that." And she doesn't want to get into bed with him. And it's really a funny scene. She goes over and grabs a quilt and lays down on the floor, like in front of the fire, and goes to sleep. And that's one of my favorite scenes of that I've written. I really like that. But what I wanted to talk about on this little film or video or whatever, the vlog or whatever the heck you want to call it, is the price that writing may cost you. I think I told you guys before that I actually broke up with somebody over my writing. And it may seem ridiculous to some people. It's not ridiculous to writers. I can assure you that. If you're involved, if you're significant other, partner, I keep lover, whatever, I'm not politically correct, so I try not to use I try to use partner and say those kind of things, but I forget from time to time. But um, if you're with someone who's not a writer, make sure that you have friends, or you're in some kind of group, or you are at the point like I am that it's more important. It's more important. I made that choice. I made the choice of being, financially scraped for a while. I made the that choice because it's just that important, to write. Not everyone can do it, and I don't know if you believe in God or not, but I do, and I believe that it's a gift that He has given me, and so it's up to me to do the very best job I can, and to not really worry about what people are going to think. I mean, I want people to enjoy the book, I really do, but I don't care if they criticize. I don't care, and I don't care if no one ever reads it but my kid and my grandkids, and I'll make my mother read it. But other than that, I don't care. It doesn't matter, because 100 years from now, what I wrote is still going to exist. What you do is what I had to tell this person. What you do means nothing beyond what you do. Okay, it means nothing. You don't go inside your head for what you do. You don't put down your feelings and your emotions, and you don't do the things and go through the things that writers do, and on top of that, laid on top of, I think I said before, laid on top of the writing gene is a lot of depression, a lot of, some mental illness, a lot of ADHD or ADA or whatever the devil that stuff is. And you have to make that choice. Now, I don't know if I could, yeah, I could probably be with another writer as long as it wasn't any competition. And there are a few men who write romance, but it's not that many. So I really don't think I would have that problem in terms of being with someone that was a writer, as long as they weren't competing in my genre. And it wouldn't matter if they did, because my book is different from anything anybody else has written, so it wouldn't make any difference. They were in my genre too, but I don't know. And it's the choice that I have made to be by myself. I think I quoted, Virginia Woolf before. You have to have a place of your own, and also a room of your own, actually. And also, too, people tend to not take writing seriously. I have sacrificed a lot to write. Um, I've sacrificed a certain amount of financial security that I could have had, like a 9 to 5 job, to do that. 100 years from now won't matter about my 9 to 5. Margaret Mitchell was a homemaker. I'm sure the sweeping of her floor is not important now, but gone with the wind is. You know, um, I'm sure Richard Wright. You heard me talk about him. All the things he went through, all the things, being raised a black man in Mississippi, and the early 1900, 1915, 1916, up in those kind of things. But he wanted to write. And I remember one tale about him. I think it was in his autobiography. I can't remember, that he went next door to wherever it was he lived, and he showed some girl something he wrote, and she goes, "Well, why would you write that? Why would you even do that?" And people who don't write don't get it. They don't get it. Um, so be careful of that, and be careful, like I said, of sabotage. I think I've said it before, but it's worth repeating. Watch out for sabotage, guys. Sex, okay? You can't get it to save your life. Soon as you sit down in front of that computer, all of a sudden she's all on top of you. Ladies, little presents, little presents. All of a sudden, little presents. All of a sudden, um, well, getting you not to come to class. Talking. Well, do you have to go to class? Well, why don't we go do something instead of you going to class? That kind of stuff. I'm telling you, and anybody that's a writer knows exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not kidding. They will do anything to stop you from doing it. Um, Jealous of your writing partners. I remember once my my writing partner came over, Greg, and he came over, and just a friend of mine came over and stopped for a minute and goes to Greg, "Who are you?" And it was really funny to me, that was the reaction that they have to, this guy that, well, he's my writing partner, because there is an intimacy between you and your writing partner. There's an intimacy between you and your words that another human being um, can't satisfy. And when you get done, especially in with the mediums that we have now, um, stuff can live forever. Books could read forever. And I also, even though I'm a tree hugger, I'm also a fan of printing your work. I use both sides of paper. I try very carefully not to use, an overabundance of paper. I recycle, when I get through, when I get through, or basically I keep it. I pretty much have kept every version, of the book from beginning, like I said, from handwriting all the way, down. A pencil, that's all I had when I began. A pencil and notebook paper, that's all I had. I didn't even get a typewriter. My son, and I think I said before, and a friend of mine gave me a typewriter that Christmas, but you know, it was worth it to me to sit down and put it, and I don't um agree with, I mean, unless that's the relationship you have with a person. If you have a relationship with the person and you want to talk about your writing with them, and you want to talk about, like, my best friend that I've known for over 40 years has not read a word. I mean, she has now, and I never, because I sent it to her, and I never talk about it. I never talk about the characters with her. I've never talked about, any the plot, anything like that ever. But for two reasons. Number one, because when she read it, I wanted her to be reading it um like she was reading it for the first time, like somebody who didn't know anything about it, to see if the characters were real, to see if, if the sentence structure, the structure on the page, what the different things that the research, different, stuff like that. I wanted her to read it fresh. Number two, even someone that I have known literally over 40 years, it's none of their business. It's, your writing is between your brain, your hands, and the paper, or the computer, or whatever it is, how it is you write. I wasn't a really big fan of creating on the computer at first. I really wasn't. It took me a long time to be able to, you know, actually make up and write. What I would do is I would write it out on paper and then type it or something like that. But now I've gotten so, I've caught up with everybody else in the 21st century. But just just be conscious of the people around you and how they feel about your writing. If they are not supportive of it, it's time to move along. If you want to write, I mean, make your choice. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. If being with someone who it means more to you than your work, then I think you need to, try another go get a 9 to 5. And I'm not saying that, you should sit around and let your family go hungry, and you're out on the street with your computer because you don't want to, work a 9 to 5 job. No, of course not. I'm not saying that. But you have to, it's a lot of work, and you have to be dedicated, and you have to be able to see the end in sight. And I know I went through a lot trying to get this book done, years, and just years and years and years. And when I finally got a chance to take some really good courses, and and take a really fine course, and have a really good writing partner, and having a good writing teacher, that it did a lot to amplify I um what I already knew. And I would love to teach a writing class one day, but like I said, you can't really teach anybody to write. You can teach somebody to, but you can't really teach anybody to write. And I find that a lot of writers have a really hard, just like I guess people in show business, I guess, like movie stars and stuff. You find the marriages from people in Hollywood that last the longest, one partner isn't in show business. You kind of find that. Um, Let me see. And I wrote hard writing, and how hard it really is. And I don't think people understand where it's coming from. It's coming from, you have to make the stuff up, and then you have to have time to think. You have to have time to think, and then you have to put it into some kind of form where someone else can read it and understand what it is you're saying. It has to make sense. It has to, stimulate your imagination. It has to make someone cry. It has to make someone laugh. It has to make someone want to turn the next page. It's going to want have them tell a friend, man, you got to read this. You know what I mean? And it's a difficult process. And if you don't have a supportive partner, if they're always putting your work down, or telling you things like, well, you need to stop doing that, it's stupid. I mean, it's surprising the things people will, to say to you to stop you from writing. Don't let anybody stop you. If you have to do it on your lunch break, get your legal pad and sit there while you're having your lunch while you're at work, whatever it is, you have to do. Also, that's something that's kind of come to me lately. I call it one of my old lady things, that people are forever trying to get you not to create, and I cannot understand that. You would think someone would be supportive, but I mean, I guess it's just, and writing is different. Writing is different from, okay, if I had a partner that, I don't know anything about cars, who like to work on cars, I don't care. You can go in the garage and work on the car all you want. It doesn't make me any difference. If they're a sports fanatic, you can go do that. I don't give a doggone what you do. And I'm sure, lots of ladies, are what they call them football widows and stuff like that. But for some reason, writing just affects people. They just don't want you. I don't know. It's just like it's a personal affront to them. And I think it's because it's so private, it's so personal. And plus, a lot of people think you're writing about them, which you are sometimes. And that's something else too. I always have to ask myself when I'm writing something, if is this therapeutic to me? Is this helping me? Is this therapeutic to me? And a lot of times the answer is yes, but then the answer might be no. It might just be a folly. It might just be something silly, you know, and it might just be a little short story that's just running around in your head. But on the other hand, it's kind of like artists when they draw and when they paint. I could probably deal with a painter, a drawer, a painter like that, and like also like with photography. My best friend, she loves to photograph mannequins. She used to love to photograph mannequins. I'm not a people photographer. Um, for some reason, I photograph children very well. I photograph children very well for some reason, and still lifes and things like that. I'm very good at that kind of thing, but I'm not a portrait um, photographer, because one thing, you can't just walk around the street taking pictures of people, and if you ask them if you can take their picture, then they stop doing whatever it was they were doing, that you wanted the photograph of. So it's the same thing with writing. You have to be careful of the people who are around you. Like I said before, get your find your voice by reading the things you like to read, and then like pattern yourself but not copy another writer. Like I said, Victoria Holt really influenced me a lot. I like her use of words. I like the way her it tastes, which sounds crazy, but when I'm reading something that I really really like, and that it's really good, and in my mind, it's a feel in your, I don't know, I don't know how to say it, I don't know how to say it, but it's a taste, it's a satisfaction. I think that's the word I'm trying to use. So that's why I try to put that in my writing. I want the writer to hear and taste and kind of feel and almost smell what's going on. And I would like and I think that's another one of, like I said, my old lady things is now it a lot of um I could have finished my book, honestly. I could have finished my book years ago, but I let a bunch of stupid stuff get in my way. And not in terms of, having to have a 9 to 5 job so I could take care of my son and take care of my responsibilities, and we'd have a nice place to live and food to eat, and he would have some of the clothes and some of the things that the other kids had, and me too have some of the things that I want in my home and things that I wanted. But I let a lot of stupid stuff get in the way, and I let my depression get in the way. I didn't feel like writing. I think the whole time that I lived on 29th Street, when I was telling you guys about, I had that roommate, the crazy roommate. I don't think I wrote a word except the work I did for the newspaper. I don't think I wrote a word at all about the book. Um, Also, too, I had gone through long spells of not being on my antidepressants and not being able to put words together, of just not writing, and it's kind of a self punishment to not do something that you really you know you really love. So I'm gonna stop at 19, whatever it is, and then I think I'm gonna do one more, maybe two more, maybe two more.